So if your goal is getting lean, in this video what I'm going to do is show you how to simplify certain things and the importance of simplification, because I've noticed that a lot of guys, as I've been in this community for about 10 years, I've noticed that guys make it way too complicated for themselves, especially guys who want to get down to 10% body fat or 12 or 15% body fat and who are studying a lot of different sources. They're often using what I call the Frankenstein method, trying to combine different pieces from everywhere, and that plan that they end up with becomes so complicated that they're unable to take action consistently, and that then impairs their results and they never really break through to really make this a lifestyle and something that's sustainable. Now in this video I want to show you how to make things a little bit simpler, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to become a lot easier, because simple doesn't mean easy. Oftentimes things that are simple and what I'm going to be talking about here are pretty difficult and hard to execute, because the goal that you're trying to achieve, if it's 10 or 15 or 12% body fat, those goals are pretty advanced, those are high level goals, and they're not easy by any means. So you will definitely have to put in the effort, but it doesn't mean that we can't simplify things. Now what a lot of guys do is they figure out their calories and macros, which is great. You have to figure out your calories and macros. I mean, these are the basic numbers you need to know about yourself. How much food can you eat to be in a calorie deficit, to continue losing fat? This is very, very important. But after that, what I see a lot of guys do is they start figuring out all these complicated recipes. They try to eat 4 or 5 meals a day. They try to do some kind of meal prep. They try to really make things look nice and pretty on paper, but very, very difficult when it comes to consistency and execution day to day. And what I suggest is how to break this pattern if you fall into this trap of trying to seek different meal plans or whatever else on the internet, is to try to make things as simpler as possible. And here's a couple of suggestions that you can apply right now to make your diet much easier to implement and much easier to be consistent with. Number one, implement some form of intermittent fasting. It doesn't have to be a severe fast where you fast for like a whole day. It can be a 20-hour fast with a 4-hour eating window, or a 16-hour fast with an 8-hour eating window. But the most important thing here is to limit the number of meals you're going to have throughout the day. So you can limit yourself to 2 meals plus a protein snack, or 3 meals, or even 1 meal plus a protein snack. So you can really manage to reduce the number of meals, which removes a lot of the options and it removes a lot of the guesswork out of the equation, because you have only 2 meals. And it's much easier to figure out 2 meals per day than it is to figure out 5 meals per day. So everything becomes a lot easier immediately when you do this. So some form of fasting is obviously going to be good for your health as well, but most importantly here, from an organizational standpoint, it's going to make the diet a lot easier to be consistent with, which is the main thing. Consistency is non-negotiable. You have to be consistent. So intermittent fasting would be my first suggestion, which you can apply and then organize, creating that eating window maybe from 12 noon to about 8 p.m. and you have 1 meal around 12, one around 7:30, 8, and then something in between, and you're good to go. So this immediately makes things simpler. Now the second thing you can do here is actually, when you look at the meals themselves, you create a couple of staple meals for each of those situations. So let's say for your first meal of the day, you only want to have 1 or 2 options initially if you're starting on your journey, and if you made things way too complicated, simplify. Just eliminate options. Do an audit of everything that you're doing and just remove options. Make it so that you have 1 or 2 staple options for your breakfast, for your meal 1, and just stick with those. Those should be optimized options, so they shouldn't be some kind of random food. They should be very specific, healthy foods with plenty of protein, plenty of vegetables, good, healthy, unprocessed food. So have those staple, maybe 1 to 3 meals for that meal 1. Now, when you have that figured out, things ultimately become a lot easier. First off, shopping becomes a lot easier because you know exactly which ingredients to get. You know how to prepare those ingredients. You actually get pretty good at preparing 1 or 2 meals like that, which then become better and better because now you're approaching it from a point of mastery and you're just trying to invent something. So that would be my first suggestion. And then for the dinner, for the last meal of the day, you do the same. You have maybe 3 or 4 staple meals and you stick with those. You don't try to invent something different. And this makes the whole thing a lot simpler and easier to manage because you don't have to think about it too much. Because if you live a stressful lifestyle, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a busy professional, I know myself, when I have to manage my business, my team, lots of stuff going on, different projects, all of that, you want to make things as simpler as you can to be more consistent and to reduce the stress. We have plenty of stress around anyway. Now, why make the nutrition side of things even stressful? And another reason why this is so important is that if you're just starting out on your fitness journey, because you don't necessarily have a skill set where you can be very precise and accurate with your foods. When you eliminate how many different foods you're eating, you can be much, much more accurate. And when you're measuring things, when you're looking at your scale, because you're eating pretty similar meals, the scale weight will actually be a lot more predictable as well, which can be great because scale weights and changes and fluctuations can add a lot of stress to your journey. I see a lot of guys, when they keep changing their meals and they keep changing their foods, their scale weight goes up by 5 pounds and they go crazy. They've been somewhat accurate with their calories, but the weight still goes up because they've been changing their food choices over and over and over. So this makes things a lot more complicated. So by simplifying things, by sticking to relatively similar meals, you eliminate that variable as well. So things become a lot easier and mentally much more manageable, and you're seeing progress. It's much more predictable. So really, when you simplify, what you're doing in the beginning at least, you're giving yourself the highest chance to get clean data, to see your weight going down so you can actually start making adjustments to your calories and macros if you need to, and you're setting yourself up for success. Now, long term, what you want to do, of course, is use this as a foundation and then build on it. It doesn't really have to be 1 or 2 meals forever. You can build on that. You can start creating the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th meal, but don't do that from day one. If you're someone who's struggling right now, if you're stuck, if you're not making progress, simplify. This is your number one tool that you can use when you feel stuck. Just go back to the whiteboard, go back to the drawing board, plan things out, make it as simple as possible, and then move on to make it complicated. Don't try to make it complicated from day one. This will make a huge difference on your journey. Immediately by doing this, if you start doing this next week, you're gonna start seeing tons of progress. Your body's gonna respond really well to this, and you're definitely gonna be glad that you did it. Now, another thing that's gonna help you is a video here that I'm gonna leave at the end with more habits and how to do your nutrition. So check out that video. Also, if you wanna get my help, if you wanna work with me as your coach and as your mentor, I'm gonna leave a link in the description below where you can get more details about that. So check out that link. Other than that, I will see you in the next video.